Yes, you can add lenses to your smartphone. And this will allow you to do a lot of things that heretofore you needed to have a camera to do. So a digital camera, usually a DSLR, which would mean you could switch out lenses. So what I want to talk about today is what smartphone lens kits do and don't do, how to get different effects from the different lenses, lens attachments that you can use, and where to find these, and how much you might be how much you might spend. But I'm going to stop there. Going to see if anybody else has anything specific they were hoping to learn about today on this topic. Anybody already have one of those kits and struggling with it?
I have a quick question. I'm a note taker. Do I need to take notes, or are there any notes that come attached with the class or not?
Yeah. Great. Yes. I send out class notes afterward, along with some links for additional reference for you. So you can find some other stuff on the internet that I've selected for you. So yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. So anybody else have anything specific they were interested in?
Well, I have a set. Actually, I can't remember where I put them. And it's the same set you have. I use the macro, and I actually have that attached to the attachment so I can immediately put it on. But I'm not sure of how to use some of the others.
Okay.
The telephoto isn't that strong.
Yeah.
I tried that a couple times.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the kit that I've got is not necessarily the great when it comes to the telephoto. I think some of the other lenses do a pretty nice job, but yeah. But there are some that I think do really rock when it comes to telephoto. So okay. So the reasons you might want to consider one of these lens kits is that it saves on buying a new camera. Many people are now relying on their smartphones for their photography exclusively. That's what they use now. And the lens kits will allow you to do what you might otherwise need a high-end camera for, or relatively high-end camera. They cost as little as $17, but the best of them are in the $25 to $50 range. Still isn't too bad for everything you get. There are some that can run up to $100, but I think if you're in this range, you're doing pretty well. And it will allow you to take some types of shots that you would otherwise not be able to do with a smartphone. That said, smartphones are improving all the time. So there may come a day where some of these might be obsolete. That's the other reason why you might not want to spend more than this. There never used to be a macro option on the iPhone, for instance, and now there is. That came, I think, with the iPhone 13. So keep that in mind, that they'll be adding different features to the phone as they crank out new models every year. One other thing to emphasize here is that you can't rely on these lenses to automatically improve the picture quality of your phone's camera. It's still going to be limited by things like the megapixel count. And some smartphones have cameras that can, believe it or not, take pictures up to 100 megapixels, supposedly. But also the sensor size. The sensor is what basically captures everything the light and everything coming into the camera, through the lens. And the bigger the bigger the sensor, the better of a picture you're going to get. But smartphones, even the big ones like what I've got, which is an iPhone 11 Pro Max, the sensor can only be so big. So that is something to consider. That said, it's still really fun to play with these lens kits. So here are some top brands out there, and I'm going to show some examples from Forsen Universal Camera Lens Kit, only because another GetSetUp learner has purchased this one after he took this class and has really been thrilled with it. And I think what he bought is a little better than what I got. So I want to show some of his pictures, and I'll also show a few of mine that I took. But I will have links to all the lists of these for you. You can find most of these on Amazon, might be able to find them on Best Buy as well, or you can just drop it into a Google search and look for them there. So this is an example of what a kit would look like. And some of them may even come with a little mini tripod like this, sort of like a tabletop tripod, where you can fit your smartphone in very easily. And they'll include a little cloth like this. But here is a telephoto lens that I think is looks pretty powerful. Mary, does yours look like this, or is it more this shape?
No, it's definitely not like that. It's the same set you have. We discussed that once before.
Did we? Okay, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So you even get I think if you get one with a telephoto lens like this, you're probably going to get better results. And you also have a wireless device to do a remote snap of the picture, remote shutter release. And you get this clip, which is how you attach the lens to your phone. So you'll see an example right here of how that's done. If you've got more than one lens, I've discovered you want to use your top lens. So I'm going to turn off my, I want to turn off my background for just a minute so this is really clear. Okay. So you'll see here, I've got 3 lenses on the back of my phone. And I just want to here is the clip I got with my kit. I'm going to take one lens and screw it into this clip and then run it over the top lens on my camera. Okay. And what that will look like, I'm going to share my phone screen to show you this in real live and in the flesh, so to speak. Okay, so let me go here. Okay, that's not working. Oh, I know why that's not working. My phone fell loose. Okay. So let me start that again. No, it doesn't want to do it. Okay, a little bit of a technical glitch here. So I'm going to use this instead to demonstrate this. Okay. Okay, so this is my phone screen that you're viewing right now. And I'm going to open. You can't see it?
No, we just see screen sharing.
It's buffering, Scott.
Is it? Okay. Let me get out of this. Okay. I don't know why that's not working.
It worked fine before you decided to switch something, because we saw your picture and you saw your camera and the lens.
Yeah, you're not seeing this at all, right?
I just see black.
Okay.
Oh, now I see you.
All right. Let me try this again and see. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So I open up my camera, and this is a kaleidoscope lens. So I just take that and sort of adjust it over the top lens. And you see this glass of water here. This isn't exactly something that would be fun to do as a kaleidoscope effect, but this is what it looks like alone. And if I put that lens over, I get this. Now you do have to adjust it a little bit so you don't get that shadowing or that vignette, which you may not want. But I'm just trying to do this one-handed here, so it's a little clumsy. There we go. And you can always crop this too if you want. There. So that is how that works. And that's just one lens. So these kits will come with several of these. Okay. And even this heavy one, you can do that with, and then you can always set it on a tripod if you need to, a mini tripod. So here are some of the effects that you can get. You have a flow filter lens. What that will do is simulate motion in a picture. You have this fisheye lens. If you take a picture with that, you'll be able to get something like this, which just sort of almost, I always use the term globalize. It kind of globalizes the image. And then this is the kaleidoscope lens that I just demonstrated. And that kaleidoscope lens is really great for flowers, if you like to take flower pictures. And you also have the macro lens. Now here you'll see a before and after with the macro lens, which shows this B and then this B really close up. Now, if you do have an iPhone 13, as I mentioned, there's already a macro mode, I believe, in there, which is a new addition they made to that model of the iPhone. But otherwise, this might come in handy to have that macro lens if you like to take extreme close-ups. And then you've got the wide angle lens, which is just going to widen what's in your frame. This is great for landscapes. You want to get a lot of territory into your view frame for your picture. And you do have this radial filter lens, which gives your image this type of effect. And the CPL lens, that's your circular polarizer, polarizing lens. That helps get rid of haze and glare and really brings out much better color in your photo. It deepens the blue in the sky. And I always had a polarizer with me when I was using my digital camera, but this will give you that same kind of effect.
Scott, what are the basic ones to get?
The basic lens kits?
Yes.
Well,
that you can kind of get by just.
Most of what I have seen is a package deal where you get a bunch of them in one kit. So the basic ones I think you might want to try are the macro lens, the telephoto lens, and maybe the circular polarizer. Those are just going to be for straightforward photography, but the polarizer in particular would be nice when you're taking pictures on a really bright sunny day. And then if you want to do an extreme close-up of something like an insect or a flower, anything like that, those come in handy as well. So that would be your macro.
Scott,
Yeah, Ray.
I have, a regular tripod, right? Large tripod.
Mhm.
Can I get an attachment for it so that my iPhone could fit on it? Maybe it's a little naive. I just don't know.
That is a really good question. I'm going to check into that, Rain, and I'm going to put that in the class notes. Because I've never tried to look for that. I've got an older tripod too, that I've had for probably 20 years that I still use. And I don't know if it would, but if you've got a newer tripod, that's a distinct possibility that it would be able to do that, or you could buy an attachment that would fit right over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions so far?
Scott, this is Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah.
I'll turn on my camera here. I have an iPhone 8, so it has a single lens.
Right.
I'm looking to upgrade sometime in the near future. I haven't decided. I do product photography, and of course, you can understand that it's not the best. I don't know. I also use, because I like a macro lens for some of my images, I use an app called Camera Plus, which gives me that ability that my phone does not. Do the lenses, are they compatible when you use a photo app?
A lot of times they are, because those photo apps are grabbing your camera essentially. And so you can use those over those. I also have Camera 2 Plus or Camera Plus 2 or whatever the app is called. Deborah, but I haven't tried using those lenses over it. But that is an app that can allow you, if you don't have that capability on your phone, to take macro shots and other types of, like a wide angle shot, things like that. That's an app that costs $10. So it's a little expensive, but as apps go, but
Scott, question is
Yeah.
the macro lens, is it a diopter? I mean, is it a magnifier?
yeah.
Is that okay? So there would be a difference between a macro taken with a diopter and a macro taken with a calculated macro, like the iPhone 13 Pro. So I don't know if they can be used together, but it would be worth an experiment to see how they work together, and what the difference in the two pictures might come out to be.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, Susan, because I keep thinking about the equivalent of those extension tubes that you can get when you're using a DSLR that you would attach to that macro lens to even magnify more what you're taking a picture of. And macro lenses, for those of you who have never used one, are really what you would want to do for objects that are already close up, but very, very small. So insects, for example, if you've ever, looked at National Geographic or seen some wildlife shots of a praying mantis, and you can actually see those teeny tiny eyes, that is an example of a macro shot. So. Okay.
I have one more.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. When you use, therefore, if it's a diopter, if you use a macro lens on the camera, does it lose a fair amount of resolution?
It might lose some. I think it depends on the phone itself and how much it's capable of maintaining that resolution. But yeah, that is a possibility depending on how closely you zoom in on it.
Okay. And is the zoom lens a really heavy? It looked like in the photo, it looked real heavy.
From what I understand, no, it's pretty lightweight. If you put it on a tripod, I think it would still be able to hold up pretty easily. It beats the big 500 millimeter lens that I have for my DSLR, which is I have to keep working out in order to carry that around. So,
I know.
yeah.
Rain, I just checked on Amazon and they do have a cell phone adapter for tripods.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mary.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Scott, it's
Yeah.
Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah.
You talked about the 13 that you have, the pixel count goes up to like almost 1,000. Did you say?
No, the iPhone 13 is still at a 12 megapixel camera.
It's 12. Okay. And
yeah. Or the iPhone 12, the iPhone 13 as well is a 12 megapixel camera. The rumor is that, and actually Susan included me in on this. The rumor is that the iPhone 14 is going to have a 48 megapixel camera.
whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know offhand what the 8 is? So I know what the difference is between the two.
The 8, I believe, is a 12 as well.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's helpful. Thanks.
Yeah.
Because if you upgrade, and I would want to upgrade primarily for the camera capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's best to just wait till that 14 comes out before I spend my money.
It might be one thing to be careful about, though, is megapixels are only part of the equation. You can get some really nice 12 megapixel pictures. I'm getting some really nice ones on my iPhone 11. A lot depends also on the sensor size and some other capabilities on the phone. So, megapixel count does enrich a photo, but only to a certain degree. So,
yeah. And what I find is that the megapixels, if you're printing, more megapixels allows you to print larger. If you're not, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Or if you're printing not that large, I don't think it makes a difference in 12 or 25 megapixels.
Yeah. And in fact, I've printed in a fairly large size, like enough to put on one of those canvas prints. Some photos I've taken with my iPhone, and they've looked fine. So if you want to, print something poster size, you might see a little bit of a difference. But otherwise, even if you want to upgrade to a 12 or a 13, Deborah, I wouldn't hesitate. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. All right. You also have a star filter lens, which will give you this little starry effect in lights that appear in your viewfinder that you get captured. So that you can see there. Here's that kaleidoscope lens, as I mentioned. And just want to show some of these. So this is by Detlef Adolf, who is a very active member on GetSetUp, participates in a lot of our photography groups and photography classes. Here is what he used with his macro lens that he got. This is a result he got, which is really nice. And you can see he got some pretty good detail in some of the veins in the plant here. And there's another one he took.
Scott,
And
do you
here
know
are a couple
what
I did.
camera he was using, what phone he was using?
I don't know exactly
Okay.
what phone. I do know it was an Android
Yeah.
phone. Yeah. I just don't know if it's a Samsung or a Motorola or another brand. Here are
Can
a
you
couple
do
that,
any of,
go ahead.
could you do any of this macro work or using the lenses without a tripod? Or would you recommend a tripod?
So I will show you the difference. I did not use a tripod for this, and I can't remember if I did use a tripod for this, but I think if I remember right, I at least set my phone down and used the timer on my phone to snap that picture just by sort of hoisting it, leaning it against something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does get a little fuzzier here. I think you can do quite a bit. A lot depends on how much you zoom in to get that. But yeah, I thought this one turned out much better, and I did set it down for that.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see, let's talk about some other lens attachments. There's the fisheye lens. You do kind of get almost this crystal ball effect with it. But what you can do, and I believe this is what Detlef did here, was go into that photo and then with the tools built, the photo editing tools built right into your phone, you can just crop it. And then you can get that sort of ballooning effect in the foreground that you see here without everything else around there. Although this can be kind of cool to see too. So here's another example. Here's an example of a kaleidoscope look. And here are some others by Detlef. He has fun with that kaleidoscope.
The birds are cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is the CPL, the circular polarizer. And you can see here what that can do. I just kind of did a side by side here from an example that I found online. But here's the sky without the polarizer, and here's what you get with it.
To me, the polarizer really, it's worth the whole cost of a kit because they're very useful when you're trying to shoot in bright light.
Yeah. I remember being in New Mexico and taking some pictures near Taos with my polarizer, and this wasn't with a smartphone, but with my digital my Canon. But the sky was such a deep blue because I used that polarizer. It's really amazing. And what you do, you can kind of you attach it to the lens and you can move it around to get various degrees of that polarization. So
can you use one lens over another? Like if I'm using a polarizer, can I put a a close-up lens on it or something?
I am looking here to see if I can do that, because I admit I've only been using them one at a time, but that's an excellent question. So
yeah, it would be good to be able to use it with a wide angle or the telephoto lens.
Yeah. So it looks like on this one, I can only use one at a time. But I would look when you're shopping for these kits to see if you can do that. This may be my kit that won't allow that, and some of the others might.
And we got the cheap kit.
Yeah, yeah. There's another example of using the CPL. Here you can see the silhouettes just a little bit better, even though they're way in the distance. Get rid of some of that brightness and haze. And here's the star filter. And you can see what that does. I do have to show you something I did, though, if I can find it here in my own library. I kind of discovered the limits of that star filter at Christmas time when I decided to try it on a Christmas tree. Let me see if I can find that. It did not turn out great. There's one example, which is okay, a little more than I wanted, but this was just way too much. Yeah. But it's really kind of fun to do this on city scenes where you've got maybe a row of street lights or something of that nature. Here's a radio filter. These are a couple I use just in the garden in my front yard. And some that Detlef took. And he also used this flow filter. I think this is best with pictures of somebody running or a car in motion. I think that would give a better effect. He was just sort of experimenting with this. But you can imagine, say, this being a person, maybe even walking and getting this sort of motion blur there that would be make for an interesting photo. Okay. So that's just a run through of what these can do. And again, I will provide you with a link to lists of all these so you can shop, see if there's any in particular that you would like. But happy to answer some questions. None? So Mary, what all you've been doing with that kit? Because I know you've shown me some pictures where you've used it.
I've really used mainly the macro, and my parrot is being a little noisy, so that's what you're hearing in the background. But yeah, just the macro lens I've really taken. I tried to use the telephoto, but it didn't do what I wanted it, or it didn't let me see as much as I wanted to see. Yeah. But I need to try some of these others. You know, I wasn't sure what they were all doing. I knew what the fisheye was because I'd used that on my big camera years ago. But yeah, I'm going to try some of the others.
Yeah.
You've turned my mic off.
I do really like having that star filter. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm eager to try the kaleidoscope one. I was thinking about using that one maybe for our photo challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scott, money aside, what would you think is the best kit to buy? Do you have any sense of that at all?
So the ones that I'm going to go back to the slide I had and show you that list. These are the top rated. I don't have the prices on me, but the links will show those and will give you a price point. And if they don't, I'll make sure those are in the class notes. And it probably depends a little bit on where you buy them too. But this Zenvo Pro Lens Kit, it is at the top of every list that I looked at. So it's very popular. Also, this Forsen Universal Camera Lens Kit. That's what you were seeing from Detlef's photos, and he is over the moon with this kit, which he bought online after taking this class, and he has just been having a ball with it. So